Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
Just the way we wanted opening day. Just the way we wanted opening day to go. Phillies lose 11-7. Welcome in. This is Phillies conversation we're going to have here on JAKIB Media. My name is Marc Farzetta. Welcome to the JAKIB Media YouTube pages. We have instant reaction from the Phillies opener against the Texas Rangers, dropping the 11-7 game to open up the 2023 season. What if I told you the Phillies offense would belt in 7 runs during an Aaron Nola start to kick off the season? What if I told you that Alec Bohm was going to be just as good as we had anticipated or really hoped for, really crossed our fingers for in the offseason, that adding the 10 to 15 pounds of muscle accidentally would, help him hit just a triple shy of the cycle? What if I told you that? What if JT Realmuto was going to get 3 hits for you? What if I told you all that and you were to tell me that, oh, that's great, but the Phillies are still going to lose because Aaron Nola is going to get shelled in the opening day game? What if I told you that? Well, the pitcher getting shelled rarely accounts for it. It's like it can't outwork out a bad diet. You can't really do much when your starting pitcher is giving up bombs to the 7-hole hitter, for instance, like he did today against Grossman. He looked like he hit an absolute wall in this game, did Aaron Nola. An absolute wall. You're watching the pitch of that first inning, struggled mightily, settled in, and then in that 4th inning, after the Phillies handed him a 5-0 lead, he lost control. Ball after ball was not hitting the strike zone. Low and away, goes up 0-2 in a count, hangs ones over the plate just a little too much, more so than what JT Realmuto was calling for. John Kruk even pointed it out during the broadcast. He took way too much of a risk with a pitch that he should have thrown way outside, as a matter of fact, especially being up in the count 0-2, and ends up in left field. Next thing you know, they score a run on that another run in that inning. And the Phillies just didn't have any answers. I don't know if Rob Thompson should have called the hook out there a little bit earlier for Aaron Nola, but it certainly looked like it because I and you probably sitting at home, or maybe some Phillies faithful that made their way down to Texas to watch this game, we knew Aaron Nola was done. And this, of course, puts the wheels in motion for a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, we'll get to all of it. We'll cover the good and the bad of this game. The good, the first 3.5 innings of the game. The bad, pretty much the rest of it, but we'll get to it all. And I just want to say this out of the gate. I know it's the home opener. All right. I realize that. I know there's 161 more of these games. So the reaction to today does not damn the entire season. I still think this is going to be a great baseball team. I still think they're going to the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. But we have to react to the game that we just saw. The concern with Aaron Nola, to start with the negative, is the idea of Aaron Nola coming out here and still pitching for a contract. Now, Jody McDonald was on me this morning right before he did Birds 365, and Jody McDonald himself and I, we were talking about the motivation that is provided for a baseball player when they're in a contract year and what they need to do, how they have laser focus in a contract year because they know they could be up for mega money in the upcoming offseason, maybe even during the season. If Aaron Nola is putting forth another Cy Young candidacy, oh my goodness gracious, absolutely. You're going to talk about driving the Bucks way up for a starting pitcher. Today obviously wasn't the step in the right direction there. But the counter to that is maybe you realize, aside from the motivating factor, maybe you realize the pressure that goes into it. Now, what I'm going to do in the most optimistic way possible after Aaron Nola blows the first 5-run lead of his career, that was a nice little fun fact that Tom McCarthy threw in at the end of the broadcast. The first time ever Aaron Nola blew a 5-run lead was today during the home opener. We were all beaming with confidence and optimism. as you are, as typically you do, going into a regular season, going into an opening day. But then you go up 5 runs. Alec Bohm's hitting, JT Realmuto's hitting. Guys are hitting in this lineup, and you're feeling it. Nick Castellanos is hitting in this lineup, and you're feeling pretty good. Optimism continues to build. Crash landing in that 4th inning. So when we look at Aaron Nola, it's not just the motivating factor of a huge contract pending for the young man, but it's also the pressure of possibly a huge contract pending for the young man. Now, as I react to this game, I do try to be a realist about this and take into the account that it is his first start of the season. You're seeing him go out there. He's not going to be pitching a long time. Goes into that 5th inning, having 62 pitches. So he was struggling mightily coming into the 4th inning, He had 62 pitches up there. So they were talking about it already, whether or not you're going to get an arm up in the bullpen, maybe get Aaron Nola out of that game. And that's exactly what they ended up doing, but only after he gave up another home run. So that was a rough outing for Nola. But I do take it under consideration that the guy is just coming out of spring training. It's his first start of the season. Pitchers tend to struggle. Jacob deGrom certainly had his struggles in the early goings of that ball game. He had a 7-pitch inning. What was it? 7-pitch inning in the first half, or in the second half of the first inning. And then he comes out there. Oh my goodness gracious. He started to get tattooed. Then he settled in a little bit later in the ball game. For Nola, struggled beginning, a lot of pitches in his first inning, and settled in, and then got tattooed in the 4th. It's all part of the process for a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. That's what I'm going to chalk it up to. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are eagerly awaiting the opportunity to jump on Aaron Nola after a bad start. And today was an awful start, especially with the high we were all riding. I mean, hey, I'm on Twitter like the rest of you. I'm out there tweeting things of optimism when it came to this ball club, what they were doing, how every game's going to be like this. Alec Bohm's going to hit. He's going to be just as good as we hoped he'd be. You're going to have JT Realmuto continue to hit like he did in the second half of the season last year. That helped the Phillies ride into the postseason. Trey Turner's going to score runs for you. Trey Turner's going to get on base for you. JT Realmuto's going to hit triples for you. You had all that at your fingertips in this game. And then it just came crashing down. So Nola is the obvious number one concern when it comes to what we're going to be seeing from him this season. Are we going to get the really good version of Aaron Nola, the guy that has competed to win Cy Youngs in his career, or are we going to get the guy that says, oh, this is definitely what everyone said he would be coming out of coming out of college. He's going to be a third, fourth starter on a good rotation. Or is he going to be a guy that's going to be consistently your opening day starter as he has been for the last 6 years in Philadelphia? Somebody reached out to me on social media already talking about Zach Wheeler. How come he wasn't the opening day starter? I don't know. I know that they like going with their homegrown product in Aaron Nola to be their opening day starter. He gave you some good innings today and then was terrible. Ran out of gas, as the great Harry Callis used to say. You saw his knuckle curveball wasn't exactly staying on point. He wasn't able to throw that for strikes in the 4th inning. You saw his fastball start to leak out to the away from right-handed hitters, started to leak inside to left-handed hitters. You started to see him have those control problems. And the Phillies, when unfortunately it was way too late, decided to give him the hook in this one. So the Phillies started out their season 0-1 out of 162 games. Plenty more baseball to be played. Let's keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the optimistic part of things here. Let's talk about the good thing here. Let's go from a negative to a positive. I know a lot of people have talked about Nick Castellanos and how he's supposed to have this bounce back year from only a 16 home run season and all that. Alec Bohm, only 13 home runs, already got one in his back pocket right now. So that's great. But going into this game and going into this season, I had talked about Nick Castellanos and Alec Bohm. Most people just want to talk about Bohm and how he's going to have this great year, a 280 hitter last year, only 13 home runs. Got to get more pop out of your third baseman. And you certainly got to get more pop out of your third baseman. But what if I told you that last year, Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos combined for 29 home runs? It doesn't seem that far-fetched. Even before this game with Alec Bohm putting his first home run in his back pocket, it didn't seem that far-fetched going into this season that you would get 29 home runs from just one of those players alone during this season. I think Castellanos can hit 29 home runs. I certainly think Alec Bohm can get 29 home runs this season. After one game, after a nice spring training, Alec Bohm looks like he is turning into the player that we have wanted him to turn into. He didn't get charged for the error that he had in this ball game. It wasn't an error. They said it would have been safe anyway, so they didn't mark it up as an error. Had a couple of smooth plays at third base, which was great. And as I said, to open things up here, was a triple short of the cycle. At the plate, you can see a 280 hitter. I know people don't want to talk about how much a batting average matters anymore, but to me, it still matters. On-base percentage is great. OPS is great. All that stuff's great. But if you got a guy down in your order, especially your 7-hole hitter hitting 280, and he has the possibility of hitting 25 to 30 home runs, that's a special player you got there. And if it can at least be a serviceable third baseman in the field, and if push comes to shove, you need him to be at first base a couple of times to spell Derek Hall, then by all means have at it. But what you have right now, and what we're expecting out of Alec Bohm, was only further, the argument was only pushed further along with the game Alec Bohm put together for himself today from the plate. Again, not charged for the error in the field, but to see him go up there, hit that deep drive to right field. See that control of his swing. See that swing really flatten out. Looks a little bit different than it did last year. The mechanics that he's working on at the plate, the motion of his swing looks 1,000 times better. And when you add that muscle and you add those mechanics, you're going to get those home runs. And all home runs, as the greats always say, are supposed to be accidents anyway. Well, him swinging a solid bat doesn't just mean home runs. It means slugging percentage. It means doubles. It means timely singles. It means putting the ball between, between first and second. It means being able to hit the opposite way. It means great plate coverage. And that all equals to the best thing ever, a very tough out in baseball. Hitting the long ball is great. We all love seeing it. If Alec Bohm combines all those things for 162 games or for whatever opportunity he gets, how many opportunities he gets this season, then the Phillies are still going to go on and do some special things this year. Bullpen-wise, so that's optimistic, okay? We'll go from negative to positive, and now let's go back to negative. I know. A lot of people want to focus on Aaron Nola. Get him earlier. Take him out of the game earlier. Get him out. This bullpen that was assembled, 9-run inning. Okay, 9-run inning. 9-run fourth inning is what the Texas Rangers were able to put up on the Phils. By the way, their new ballpark, it looks like the Houston Astros ballpark. Maybe I just have, carryover from last year, from pain and suffering, but it still very much just looks like the Houston Astros. But looking at this game tonight and what we saw out there on the baseball field, especially when it came to that bullpen, they weren't shutting down a lot of guys either, unfortunately. You go into this game, you see the way Aaron Nola was pitching in the fourth inning. They decided to give him the hook. 9 runs eventually cross the plate as that inning goes on. But to break down that fourth inning, we see Nola out there. He eventually gets hooked. He gets out of there. You see, boy, oh boy. Yeah, this is a long one. This is a long one, unfortunately. You see Soto go in there, and I thought Aaron Nola had lost control. Soto goes out there, immediately walks Smith on 4 pitches, if memory serves me correctly. Then Semien comes up there. He gets a single. Next thing you know, you got runners on first and third. It's already a tie ball game. Seager ends up walking on 5 pitches. Then you get the infield single. That was a little dribbler down the third baseline that Soto fielded, tried to get the out, the force out at home. That, of course, didn't play out that way. You didn't get the out. A run scores. Brogdon, hey, let's see what you got today. Connor Brogdon comes out there. Semien ends up scoring again. Lowell ends up taking second on a pass ball. JT Realmuto, don't know what happened on that particular pitch, but just wasn't able to locate it. And the next thing you know, you got another runner on base. Next thing you know, you got Garcia up there. He tries to stretch a single into a double. He's thrown out. 9 total runs scored in that inning. By the time it was all said and done, your opening day starter, Aaron Nola, was charged for a grand total of 5 runs. Soto was charged for 3 runs. Brogdon was charged for 2. So 5 runs and 5 runs. 5 to your starting pitcher, 5 to your bullpen. Thing I really didn't like was the walks. Vasquez had a walk issued. Bilotti had a walk issued. 6 walks in total by your pitching staff. As great as this lineup can be, And as great as this lineup, I think, will be, and then as great as they will be when Bryce Harper joins the lineup, you're not going to out-hit bad pitching. And that's a concern. And I've seen the Phillies. We've all seen the Phillies many times over. Rebuild with veteran arms in that bullpen. We have seen them reload, restock, go out there and get the arms race, literally, when it comes to stocking up on guys that can really be fireballers in the later innings. If they're walking guys, if you see Soto go out there and walk two, if you see Vasquez go out there and issue a walk, if you see Bilotti go out there and issue a walk, you're not going to be shutting down anybody. And a 5-run lead will not be safe. We have cried, we have screamed, we have yelled many times over for Aaron Nola to get run support. Here's 5 innings, Aaron Nola. Gone. Joked during the game. Remember the fun of the 2023 season and the 3.5 innings that it lasted? Well, that was quick-lived. Short-lived, unfortunately, for the Phillies. But hey, you got the off day. We can regroup. We can reassess, and hopefully the Phils get out there and keep swinging the bats. And then Zach Wheeler gets the ball. He'll be on the bump. Get your first win of the season. And all will be right with the world after that. I talked about some negative, talked about some positive, but let's focus on Nick Castellanos. He did have 2 hits today. One of the things I really like from Nick Castellanos, and some of those swings that I saw there in his last at bat, I'm sure he'd like to have back. Talk about plate coverage. Nobody's covering some of those swings that he had out there. But after Alec Bohm, I think somebody else that the Phillies really want to see break through is Nick Castellanos. Whether or not it's a 34 home run season, keeping a 260 batting average, still being a guy that could hit anywhere between 3 and 6 in this lineup. He's a guy you'd like to see be your 5-hole hitter, generally speaking. But he's the type of guy you want to see go out there and hit with some pop and hit with average as well. If he's going to be a middle-of-the-order guy, you want him to be able to provide you both average and power. And when you look at what he did today, just a couple of hits, compare it how he started out last season, this is a guy that at least I think looks comfortable here. You saw him in spring training have his struggles. He was 4th or 5th on the team in RBIs, one of the RBI leaders with 10 in spring training, which is fine. But the way he ended last season when he was healthy, hopefully he carries that into this season. And seeing him come up with 2 hits, all it is after 1 game of play is a nice sign. Alec Bohm having 1 home run in the opening day is great. It's a nice sign. But what we're looking for now is something that's not spring training numbers. It's something that's valid. It's something that holds water, for instance. And it's the way the Phillies played today offensively that holds a lot of water. Compared to how they played in spring training, fine. That's great. It's a nice tune-up. But the first game of the season is where you see whether or not you're actually going to have some fruit to bear here. And as of right now, it looks like Bohm and Castellanos will be providing that type of fruit for this Phillies lineup as the season goes on. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Pitch clock-wise, first actual game taking in the new rules. I know we experienced some spring training. It definitely felt a little bit different today. Thought in the early goings of this one, what was it, the second inning? Jacob deGrom said his pitch comm wasn't working. And I thought, well, this is gamesmanship at its finest. Maybe he just needs a break. Hey, if you're a pitcher, just say you can't hear the pitch comm. And all of a sudden, you're going to get a little bit of a break. He starts throwing some warm-up pitches, a little bit more ready to go on. Turns out it really didn't do much for him. He was originally assessed and charged a ball. Then they ended up reversing that because they said the issue was, in fact, with pitch comm. So they're not going to charge the ball to the pitcher in that regard. They're not going to award the batter with the ball in that situation. So instead of a 3-2 count to Kyle Schwarber, it ended up being a 2-2 count to Kyle Schwarber. I like the rules. I think baseball has evolved into needing these rules put in place. But, man, I know a lot of runs were scored today. 18 runs were scored today, but you're still looking at a 3-hour-plus game that was played. And it definitely started to drag in there, especially when the runs really started to being scored on both sides here. When you saw the Phillies put up solid numbers there, the 5-run lead, and then you saw I almost called them the Astros again. The Rangers come back with a 9-run 4th inning, and then tacking on 3 more runs after that and getting on base. And the Phillies trying to get out of jams here and there in the middle innings of this game. Certainly, those were all things that you wanted to see the Phillies be able to put in the rearview mirror rather quickly. But, man, it just seemed like this game continued to drag on as time went on. So the pitch clock for a game like today didn't really expedite the process. Maybe you had a 3-hour game instead of a 3.5-hour game. But I know for a lot of Phillies fans, it felt a lot longer than that, especially when they went on the run that they did, an 11-2 run, if this was any other sport. That's what the Rangers put out there today. It was a rough one for the Phils, not the way you wanted to see things start off. You certainly didn't want to see Aaron Nola have to burn through 72 pitches in 4 2/3 of work, or 3 2/3 of work out there on the mound. But it is something that I think the Phillies just need to put aside. Say they got 161 games of these left, push forward, and hopefully this will be the rock bottom already of a year for Aaron Nola and not the trend to be set as the season just gets underway. I know we have seen Aaron Nola struggle in the past. Hopefully today is not a taste of things to come for what the Phillies have coming up for the rest of the season and what they're going to get out of one of their ace pitchers. So Phillies take the 11-7 loss, start of the season 0-1. They'll be back at it, not tomorrow, but they'll be back at it on Saturday to take on the Rangers once again. Zach Wheeler will get the start against Nathan Eovaldi. That game also at 4:05 from Texas. Thanks for watching Instant Reaction to the Phillies here on JAKIB Media's YouTube channel. My name is Marc Farzetta. Have a great rest of your night.
Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.